very good evening to you. My name is Buhle Baleka, and welcome back to another episode of the Nelson Mandela Bay Report, a show that will be providing you with service delivery updates straight from the municipality. Now, although we had promised that we'll be joined by the newly elected executive mayor this week, unfortunately, due to the mayor's very busy schedule, we have rescheduled for a later day. But on tonight's episode, we'll be zooming into the drought situation faced by the city. As you may know that Nelson Mandela Bay is experiencing one of the most severe droughts in history. The city's dam levels, or rather the city, is at a high risk of running empty as the dam levels are currently sitting just below 12%. We are joined in studio tonight by Infrastructure and Engineering Executive, or rather Acting Executive Director, Mr. Joseph Tsatsire, who will be weighing in on the city's water crisis. We also have water management expert Dr. Gisela Kaiser, who has been seconded by the National Treasury to assist the city with its drought mitigation plan. But for now, let us take a quick breather. We have more of the NMB report right after this. And welcome back. You are still tuned to the NMB report. I have with me Mr. Joseph Tsatsire, who is the Acting Executive Director under the Infrastructure and Engineering Directorate. Mr. Tsatsire's department deals with the water systems of the city. Thank you so much for joining us in studio this evening. Let's get straight into it. We are aware that the drought situation in the city has been ongoing for the past 4 years. Please just give us context from the beginning of the drought and to where we are now currently.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to all your viewers. The Metro has been experiencing drought since 2016. Our first declaration was around September 2016. We were actually declared, a disaster area, and this was due to the shortage of water, within our western sources. These are actually the dams, Churchill as well as Mpofu. The dams then were actually sitting at a combined level of plus or minus 16% when we were declared. And this had continued up until to date. Currently, we are having our combined dam levels at 11.8%, and this is actually a crisis for the Metro.
Please just take us through the mitigation plans or projects that the city has implemented in order to combat the water crisis that we're faced with.
The Metro is invested quite a lot of resources in order to mitigate the drought. Since 2010, we actually had probably one of our worst drought as well. And we have started actually implementing, long-term projects that's going to actually give us sustainability into the future. Then in 2010, we actually investigated the use of, groundwater, as part of our water mix. We actually engaged the services of geohydrologists to actually identify, where water gonna be. And then in subsequent years, we have actually then employed, the services of contractors to actually drill boreholes. One of the very strategic area is in Motherwell Kuchakop, where we have drilled boreholes, which we are currently now building a water treatment works to remove iron and manganese in the water from those boreholes. And that water will be actually then distributed as part of, the drought mitigation. And we're going to get plus or minus, 12 megaliters of water on a daily basis. And that water is actually going to go a long way in mitigating, drought into the Metro. Other interventions that are currently underway is actually to deal with leaks in the reticulation system. We have employed the services of contractors to assist our internal teams in dealing with leaks. As of to date, we have actually done just over 30,000 leaks since 2020, and currently we have plus or minus 4,000 leaks, in backlog, and we have all distributed them to contractors for them to deal with those leaks. And we continue to invest, quite a lot of resources to ensure that, we improve the turnaround times, in dealing with leaks and ensure that as well the public will get the confidence to also play their part in saving water.
Speaking about the borehole situation, how many boreholes have we drilled, and also is it safe? Is it a safe option to go with? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, we have quite identified a number of areas where we're going to actually be drilling water. I've mentioned Kugakop as one.
Yes.
There is again, a number of bores we are drilling at St. George's Park here in Central. We are also drilling bores in Buhle Park in the western side of the city, as well as Mokro bores. And these combined going to give us plus or minus 15 megaliters on a daily basis. It is safe water for us, and the yield is quite huge. In the sustainably into the future, we should be able to receive quite large volumes of water, into the future. That's going to sustain us and build, the water resilience of the city going forward.
You've mentioned quite a lot of work that has been done by the city in order to mitigate this, but I want you to go deeper on the infrastructural plans that you guys have implemented when it comes to mitigating this. Please just give us more.
Yeah. Okay, as part of actually us mitigating drought, we have also put quite a lot of resources in ensuring that we rehabilitate our infrastructure. We have put money into pipe replacement, and by this we actually avoiding, future-based because, as the pipe system grow older, it becomes very vulnerable to leaks. And one of our interventions is to be able to replace, all the old pipelines to ensure that at least we have got a sound infrastructure that will be able to withstand, the test of time when it comes to leaks. We are also quite involved in what we call pressure management.
Okay.
We are reducing, the pressure in the system. For us to be able to protect, pipes that are vulnerable, we actually lower the pipe. When nobody is actually taking water, especially during the night, we actually lower the pipe into the reticulation system to ensure that, not much water is lost or through leaks, as well as, to protect the infrastructure ultimately at the end of the day.
Please just quickly touch on the plans that are not active yet, because I know you've mentioned that the plans that we have already implemented. What else are we going to implement further?
Further, we are also considering, to implement desalination as part of the water mix into the water grid. There are studies that are at an advanced stage currently to ensure that we can then add, water that we take from the sea. We remove the salt in it and make it potable and actually add it into our grid reticulation system. We have identified 2 places where we're going to be building those plants. One is in Kucha, where we are in collaboration with CDC. They're going to be actually then become the implementing agent that will actually build that plant, as well as Skunis, where we're going to actually build another plant that's going to give us plus or minus 15, increasing up to 60 megaliters on a daily basis.
Can we please just talk about the recently commissioned KwaNobuhle pipeline? What does that mean for the system? Because I remember that KwaNobuhle was said to be the first areas to be affected by the drought situation. Can we please just talk about that?
So as part of us trying to mitigate drought in the city, we are investing in the redundancies of the city, or what I call the flexibility of us being able to distribute water around. And KwaNobuhle link is one of those important links where we are taking Noihladak water from the Orange River system into KwaNobuhle, which usually gets its water from the Kocha Dam. And by that, we are actually maximizing the use of Noihladak water, which is not currently experiencing drought as we speak. So we can get water up to around 210 megaliters, and we can actually use it in the area that you are affected by drought as we speak. And that means that the area of KwaNobuhle is now 100% water secure because we are getting it from a reliable source that is not actually experiencing drought as we speak.
That is quite good. Thank you so much, Mr. Tsatsere, for joining us in studio this evening. That was Mr. Tsatsere from the Infrastructure and Engineering Department, where he was elaborating on the city's water crisis. But for now, let us take a quick ad break. We'll be back with Dr. Gisela Kaiser, who will be joining us in studio just after the break.
Thank you.
And welcome back. You are still with me for the NMB report. Just before the ad break, I was engaging with Mr. Joseph Tsatsere from the Infrastructure and Engineering Directorate, where he was elaborating on some of the drastic measures the city has implemented to combat the drought. But right now, I am joined by Dr. Gisela Kaiser, who was seconded by the National Treasury to work with the city to mitigate the effects of the drought. Doc, thank you so much for joining us in the studio tonight. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. Claire, I'm fine, except that I'm very worried about the water situation.
Yes, let's get into it. Firstly, please just give us a brief background about your professional work.
Sure, okay, I'll throw my age away if I tell you everything, but basically I'm a civil engineer with an MBA and a PhD. And really why National Treasury City Support Program contacted me was because I was the executive director for water and sanitation during the Cape Town drought from 2015 to 2018 was the period of the intense drought.
Since you have arrived, what is your take on the city's drought situation? What do you think about the work that has been done so far?
So it was quite interesting for me to get here and to realize just how dire it was. The fact that your dam levels, your local dams, only have weeks of water left. Whereas when we were in Cape Town, our dam levels dipped below the 20% only once. Your dam levels have been below 20% for the entire year.
Yes, which is quite scary.
Absolutely. So it struck me that it was very late in the day for the people to take notice. I know the municipality has really been trying to get the word out. In fact, you started your 50 litres a person a day campaign when in Cape Town we were still on 87 litres a person a day. And that was towards the end of 2017. Now, people get tired. You know, if you're told to save and save and save, eventually it means nothing.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, it really is crunch time now, and it is time for every person in Nelson Mandela Bay to take heed of this and to realize that they need to work with the municipality and with each other to use less water, because only if we use less water will we still have taps that are running at Christmas time.
I know you've done a lot of work in Cape Town, but please just give us a comparison between Cape Town and the situation in Cape Town and the situation in Nelson Mandela Bay. And also please just touch on other interventions that can be done to mitigate this situation, this dire situation.
Right. So there are a number of parallels that Nelson Mandela Bay and Cape Town have. They're both along the coast, so there's lots of coastline and seawater. A lot of things differ, though. So Cape Town is very much a winter rainfall area, whereas the local dams pretty much get rainfall all around the year, but not a lot. So you may have storms in November, you could have them in January, in March. Most of the rainfall and the heavy rains that we need to fill the dams, though, happen in the winter months. In Cape Town, because it's only a winter rainfall region, if you got to the end of winter and the dams were empty, you knew you were in deep trouble. Whereas I think here, because people are used to it raining the whole year round, they don't panic quite as easily. That's one important thing. Another very important difference is that in Cape Town, all the water comes from local dams.
Okay.
So in Nelson Mandela Bay, only approximately a third of the current usage has been drawn off the local dams, and 2/3 come from Nooit Gedacht. Nooit Gedacht comes from the Gariep Dam, which is more than 80% full. It's the largest dam in the country. So the risk of that dam running dry is really low. But what people tend to miss, looking at social media is that even though there's 2/3 of the water that comes from there, it serves currently only approximately half of the city. So we need additional infrastructure to get that water to the rest of the city. But that's not the only thing. It also only has about 2/3 of water. So even if we had all the infrastructure in place already, we would still need to cut our use. So those are two differences that I think are really important. A further one is that the dams in Cape Town are generally in the mountainous areas.
Yes.
So water flows downhill and all the reticulation systems are connected. In Nelson Mandela Bay, it's pretty much a pumped scheme, which means that you're very much affected by load shedding, but it works in a different way. So you've got a number of reservoirs and water gets pumped up to a reservoir and then feeds an area. So the way that the water system operates is quite different than it is in Cape Town.
Yes, I was going to ask you to please just elaborate more on the reticulation system, because a lot of people don't quite understand the whole procedure and all of that. Please just continue on that point, please.
So Buhle, this is a problem that I've always had. I was responsible for electricity as well at some point.
Okay.
And people are scared of electricity because it can shock you and kill you.
Yes.
But also, it's not easy to conceive how to create a solar panel and charge your phone. Whereas most people think, there's a sea, there's a river, I can take a bucket and fetch some water.
That easy.
But water systems are complex, and the responsibility to reticulate sufficient water at a quality that is healthy is a complex thing. So I know there are many aspiring water experts out there, but I've been impressed with the technical knowledge and the depth of technical knowledge that I found here at the municipality. So what I'm trying to focus on is pretty much what we focused on in Cape Town. So we had three aspects. We know that we've got dams where we have water. So on the one hand, we need to make this water last for as long as we can, because once the water's gone, you can't magic it back. Then the second thing is to manage our demand at a local level, which is probably what we are focusing now in communicating and getting everybody who lives in the city on board to use less water. And then thirdly is to augment supply and in this instance make sure that more of the Nooitgedacht water can move around the city. There's a very well-known phrase in engineering circles that you can't build your way out of a drought.
Yeah.
When the drought happens, there just isn't enough time to build another dam, a desalination plant. Any large infrastructure takes a lot of time in terms of planning and coming up to speed. So worldwide, in places that are served by surface water, water restrictions is the way to reduce your consumption and make the dam water last longer until some rain falls and the dams are replenished.
Doug, that is quite a lot of information. I think let us take a quick ad break and then we can finish off when we come back from the break. It is time to take a quick breather. We'll be back just right after this. And welcome back. I'm still joined in studio by water management expert, Dr. Gisela Kaiser. Just before the break, we were talking about the mitigation plans the city has implemented or needs to implement with regards to the drought situation. Doc, you've mentioned the possibility of dry taps come Christmas time, which is quite scary. Please just tell us more about that. Is it true? How bad is the situation in the city?
Buhle, unfortunately, it is true, and the situation is really dire. What we are doing, though, is planning for worst case. So we are planning for if it doesn't rain.
Okay.
If it doesn't rain, Lurie Dam, without releases from Koge Dam, will run dry in the next few weeks. Similarly, Churchill Dam will run dry. I think it's at 11%, and at the current drawdown, by the end of this month, it will be dry. So what we are left with then is a couple of dams that feed the city. But for me, the biggest impact is from the Crom system, because after Churchill runs dry, we will have a limited supply from the Crom system. In fact, this is exactly the amount of water that National Department of Water and Sanitation has restricted us to. They do not want the dams to run dry. So we can only take a little bit of water from that dam. What this means, however, this water has to serve a very vast area, right from the dam, which you know is beyond Cape St. Francis. And it has to reach all the way to the bay, in fact, to the city centre. And there are so many takeoff points along the way that if any of those takeoff points take more water than they should, the rest of the system will be starved. So a very large part of the city may very well run dry before Christmas. What this means, sorry, you had to follow up.
Let's talk about water consumption. I know that the consumption in the city is between 280 megaliters and 300 megaliters. I think that's quite a lot of water, considering that we are in a water crisis and the dams rather are just below 12%. Where do you think the city is failing? Because we've been sending out messages like public awareness initiatives and all of that, but where do you think the city is failing, or are there other factors playing some, I don't know, like just
Buhle, I think for me it is the fear factor. Somehow in Cape Town we managed to scare people that they believed that the dams could run dry.
Yes.
Somehow here, because of nooit gedachte water and because of the rainfall, people are just thinking, it will be okay. What I'm trying to do is to get people to panic and to realize that this is real. Not serious. To panic to the extent that they pack up and leave town, but to panic to the extent that they make sure that individual use goes down to 50 liters a person a day, and that people also make sure that other people are aware of it. You know, there are 1.25 million people in the city. As a municipality, we can't reach everybody. So what we need to do is to convince a large enough proportion of people that it's really urgent. We will run out of water before Christmas if we don't work together and we use less water.
With your experience in electricity, we've been experiencing load shedding, right? What is the relation between the distribution of water and electricity? How is it affected somehow?
So load shedding impacts in a pumped system, because if you don't have power, you aren't able to pump water. But people also often ask, why don't we watershed, like electricity, that we shut off certain areas for certain parts of the day? Water infrastructure doesn't like that, especially old infrastructure, because then the pressure in the pipes vary, and especially if you've got old pipelines and weak points, you tend to have so many bursts that you lose more water than what you gain by starving some areas. So that is a last resort. Many countries in the world do that. In Cape Town, we managed to reduce our consumption by 55% without resorting to
watershed
shedding. So what we are trying to do here is to get the great people of Nelson Mandela Bay to do the same, to save water, use less water, and then we will all have water at Christmas time.
Hopefully. But just one last question, if I may ask. What do you think the city needs to do in order to gain the trust and confidence of businesses and residents?
So, Buhle, we're really trying to engage. If anybody wants a representative from the city to come and speak at their business, school, church, wherever, we are completely open to do so. We also decided to be transparent. You would have seen our map with the red areas and
I saw that.
Yellow areas. So a common question was, why didn't you just tell everybody to save 30%? Our answer was, because the red areas really have to save 40%. So we would have had to tell the yellow area that they also have to save 40%.
Okay.
And that's not honest. I couldn't in fair conscience go and tell people that they need to save more water than they really need to. So that was our first attempt at building trust. And I'm really, from an engineering viewpoint. We are being open and honest and transparent, and we are making more and more information available on our website so that people can go and read things and make their own decisions. But I think key to this is that we are willing to engage.
What do you think is the importance of partnership with every stakeholder involved when it comes to mitigating this drought situation that we're faced with?
It is, of course, critical. So we have meetings with a variety of stakeholders, including province, national, on a disaster management front, because everybody does have a vested interest in it. And from a plan, an action plan, should we need more water tankers, we will engage further with these stakeholders to assist us, should it come to a disaster. But I believe that the people do have the sense, and we're feeding them good information and good hints of how to reduce their consumption to only 50 liters a day. And we can do it. If we only use that, the dams will last until we've got sufficient connecting infrastructure in place, and life can go on.
Talking about 50 liters, residents think that that's quite a little water. Please just give us tips on how to make sure that we use it efficiently or effectively.
Right, so I think just two of the main things is that bathing takes so much more water than showering.
The shower, yes.
But in a shower, just be mindful, if you wait for 5 minutes for the water to get warm, that doesn't help. So I always use a bucket to just catch the water until it's warm. And then once you're wet, it's a stop-start shower. You don't stand with the water running when you're washing your hair. You just wet yourself, and in doing so, you can actually use really little water. Then, very importantly, toilets. You know, if you have to go and buy bottled water to flush your toilet, you would just be horrified how much drinking water you are flushing down with each flush.
It's a lot of
water.
So
use a bucket, use your water from your dishes or washing, whatever, to flush your toilet.
Your toilets, yes.
Don't flush if you don't need to flush. If it's yellow, let it mellow. And those are just two things that are really simple. Apart from that, read your meter, check for leaks. That's where a lot of water does go just underground and you don't even notice. But all this information is available on our website as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Doc, for joining us tonight. That was very informative. That was Dr. Gisela Kaiser, a water management expert. But right now we have to take a quick ad break. We'll be back just right after this. And welcome back. This is still the Nelson Mandela Bay Report. As we have heard from all our guests tonight, the situation in the city is quite dire and needs everyone to play their role in reducing excessive water consumption. I can imagine that no one wants to experience a dry festive season, as Dr. Gisela has previously mentioned that we are at a high risk of running empty by Christmas time. Quite scary when you really think about it. But that was it for tonight's episode of the NMB Report, but I want to hear your thoughts about the city's water crisis. Do you think the municipality is doing enough, and what are you doing in your corner to help the situation? Engage with us on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. On Twitter, it's at @NMandela Bay Muni, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. From myself, Buhle Baleka, I'm saying good night and God bless.